Hello, everybody. Hope you're good. Hope you're fantastic. It's me again, Gavin, live on the Wealth Conversation. And today we're talking about the power of property in creating wealth. And today, like any other day, I'm with an amazing and incredible gentleman that will be assisting me in this topic. Leadership, how are you doing?
Yeah, no. We're super. We are blessed.
Are you fantastic?
Sure.
Good. I think for the benefit of everybody watching, can you just maybe introduce yourself and just tell us what you do?
So Andile Fulane, I run a financial education company. We've been doing financial literacy for the past 10 years or so, and working with corporate companies to help their employees get out of debt, start saving, and start creating wealth. I'm a property investor, 12 years. I actually started in property before I started, your formalized kind of business. And I'm an equity investor as well, so I'm an equity trader as well. I love wealth creation. And that's my corporate background as well. I spent about 5 years in corporate, in different roles in the investment space. Yeah, so more or less. I'm an author as well. Oh, yes. I didn't forget that.
How can you forget such a big thing?
My fourth book now, one of the books that I'm writing is about the investment game, which includes everything, including Bitcoin, Forex, property, equities, everything.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And obviously, I think you mentioned a lot around just loving the whole aspect of wealth creation. Now, according to you, if you had to, provide your own definition around wealth, the term wealth, how would you define it? When we talk about wealth creation, what are we talking about?
I'd say it's the ability to live the kind of life that you want, the kind of life that you imagine, and without any mental barriers or emotional barriers towards it, without feeling any guilty. It's that. And of course, there's another author that actually mentioned that your ability to live forward, like in the objective sense, how many months can you actually live forward? So if without a salary and without a job, you have enough savings to work like for the next coming 2 months, then that means you are 2 months wealthy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you have 60,000 in your bank account or 60,000 worth of assets. That means you can then we are 2 months wealthy. Then if you have more, then if you have 600,000, for instance, it's multiples of 60,000, which means you can live actually much longer, without any salary that's coming from the side. So that's wealth. And the second thing is obviously wealth comes from assets that are generating income by themselves. So it means you're not laboring. I think when you get to a stage where you are wealthy, you've got assets that are generating income or money for you without you having to spend the time and the labor to generate that income. So for me, the primary one would be the labor one, where you trade your labor and time for money, right? That's the primary one. That's where most people start, unless you have obviously inherited some assets. And then you use your primary income accumulation to then buy assets that would then slave and create wealth for you, So that's the secondary one. And very few people are actually there, but we solve it.
And then if we talk about property, and we're saying property is, if I may call it, the pillar of creating wealth. How does property play a role in that aspect? In a tangible form. How does property in itself, play a role in wealth creation?
Yeah. So considering that 80% of the world's wealthiest people actually have real estate as part of their pillar asset in their portfolio, including Warren Buffett, as much as he doesn't talk much about it. He's got some real estate in his portfolio. And for a number of reasons. Let's just look maybe at the example of the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. How old are those pyramids? They are thousands and thousands of years old. They are still standing even today. And they are still valuable because they are one of the major attractions in Egypt, contributing significantly to the GDP, in tourism, in the GDP of Egypt. And that's what property actually does. It's that it can be able, and I'm listening to a speaker that says that's why it's called real estate, because it's real, it's tangible.
You can see it, bricks and mortar.
How many companies? I mean, I think the oldest companies that we know, for instance, Old Mutual is about 120 years old. But you hardly hear of a company that has transcended generations and generations. That's probably 200, 300 years old. But you do find properties that have stayed that long, So for that reason, is that for sustainability purposes and the ability to how can I put it, to sustain wealth. That even if someone had to take over the business, it's not as complex as your service business where you've got a whole lot of other employees and you've got, a whole lot of other things. It's a very, very easy business. I mean, my mother is actually a landlord. Ekaya, Big 12. We used to run a shipping, which my mother has turned now into some rooms. She doesn't have any kind of formal education, but some kind of formal business would need some kind of formal education and so forth and so forth. And so for that reason, I think that's why property, it's such an easy and it sustains wealth and can transcend generations. That's why I think it's actually a good picture.
But Andile, I mean, you mentioned the aspect of it being, easy, and obviously we know it's not really that easy. But how come if you look at our communities, right? We somehow, I don't know whether we can say that we're really struggling to grasp this power that lies in property, or I don't know if it's the information thing. According to you, if you really now need to look at it from let's say gas, point of view, the rural areas where a lot of our communities are, how come is that aspect not really transitioning to wealth, whereby people really see how we can do these things? Is it information? What do you think is the problem in that regard?
Yeah, I know. So the majority of our people are looking even at property from a consumer's perspective. Like most of we are actually consumer focused. We don't produce much. That's why we don't start a lot of formal businesses. That's why we don't invest formally. So we grew up like that. You obviously know, I mean, our history and people not having had the advantage of being educated, not having had the advantage of being part of the mainstream economy. So there's a lot of backyard rooms. I mean, for instance, in Soweto, but still people live in those or run those backyard rooms like hand to mouth kind of businesses. They don't see the value in investing in growing the portfolio, building more rooms, making rooms to be nicer so that I can attract quality tenants and so forth. So they don't see that. But to some extent, yes, at the consumer level, we probably see the opportunity. But from an investor's perspective, we definitely don't see it. And I mean, you've got people like Bob Richard Maponya, who built those shops in Soweto, and later actually built them all. So we've got people that actually saw the bigger picture, which most of us have not seen. They see the bigger picture that, look, we can actually build something that is bigger and stop traveling from Ekasi to town and all those things. So we need definitely an unlocking of how we think when it comes to property investing.
So in essence, it's not as if people are not investing in property. Really? So people are
Yes.
investing in property. So according to you, it's just a basic element of, it's more of a survival thing than really of an
Yes.
ownership thing. Because if I own this thing and I see value in it and I want to grow it, then I will obviously take care
Yes.
of it to that point that you're currently mentioning, of course. Yeah. Now, cool, man.
Definitely.
And then I think then maybe let us then bring it to today. We are sitting with challenges. COVID-19 came and it created havoc. Do you think that there's some way where we can use then property to then help us from not only survival, to get through this pandemic and all of the challenges that it comes with, but now to be able to prosper, to become even better and better, as a society.
Yeah, no, definitely. So the pandemic, obviously, with every crisis, there's an opportunity. It just depends on what are you looking at. And obviously, a lot of people have actually lost their ability to to earn an income. But there are a whole lot of other people are still employed. And what then this presents is an opportunity because the market is so distressed. And I'm a fond believer of us thinking like capitalists, but investing like socialists. We think like capitalists because we live in a capitalist system, right? So if we were to say the people that are actually distressed now, no, we don't want to buy their properties because it's like taking, there's that guilt that comes with being black as well.
Yes.
And Ubuntu, which I think sometimes it's self-destructive. Because either way, the person is desperate. And I've had to sell properties at a loss as well. And I needed a buyer. And I've had to reduce the price.
Yeah.
It was just the reality that if I sell this property at a loss, at least I can take care of the debt and be able to start afresh.
Yes.
So it's an opportunity because time and chance happens to everyone. And it's by chance that you still have a job.
Yes.
Do you get me?
Yes.
So use that chance and help someone to take off this property off their hands so that they can have the opportunity to start afresh. That's how we need to perceive this.
Yeah.
And so it has created that opportunity, and I think what makes it worse is that the property market has been depressed for quite a long time. Obviously, it follows the economy.
Yeah.
So our economy is growing, to an extent that I think in the first quarter we were already in the negative. We're in a technical recession. So now we are like literally in a recession, and it doesn't look like things are going to improve anytime soon. So that is presenting opportunities depending on what kind of property that you actually are trying to buy. Yeah. If you are becoming speculative, obviously, there's these people that think that they can buy quickly and sell quickly. It's not a seller's market. So if you would want to do that, unless you found the property that like really, really low cost, then you probably will be able to do that. But for your rental, like we mentioned, we live on Earth. There'll always be a need, for even when they say the Internet of Things, the cloud, everything is going to the cloud. Where's that cloud? It's sitting somewhere in the physical server. That's where the cloud is.
There's some land attached to that. Yeah.
Required for us to be able to do that. So those opportunities, including land. I'm a big fan of the developments that are happening in the Vaal. In fact, today I'm going to check some land in the Vaal. You get huge square meters in an area called Meaton that is actually developing. Huge square meters. And you'll be able to buy there at this particular market, hold, and then when the right time comes, either you develop affordable houses there, or you sell, or you divide the land and sell in smaller portions. That's what it all means sometimes. And you invest probably less than 100K to actually do that. Yeah. So there's those opportunities. Another opportunity that's presented is, the interest rates being the lowest, in the past 47 years or so. So that's an opportunity, which means we are acquiring debt. If you are buying through debt, we are acquiring debt at the cheapest since, so these two opportunities, a mix of these opportunities that has not happened in a very long time, then presents an opportunity for especially first-time investors. and second investors as well, or second-time investors to actually buy these distressed properties at a low price with the view of making money in the future.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like, in most of these conversations, I normally bring in 3 scenarios that I would like you to help me with, for obviously the benefits of those who are listening right now. So I'm going to give you these 3 scenarios. Now, the first scenario is I just finished varsity, I'm looking for a job where I'm working. What should I be thinking around property as a means to create wealth? What are the things that I could be thinking about, I could be doing? So if you can provide us with that. So that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2, I'm in my late 30s. I have a family, and like a lot of us, you have a nice anyana family, a nice anyana job, 1 or 2 cars, and a house. And but from a wealth perspective, what should I be thinking around property, and what should I be doing? And the last scenario, in my 60s, I've done all I could, but life was just normal. But now I hear this word wealth creation. Is it over, or is there something that I could be thinking about from a property point of view, and obviously from a wealth creation point of view? What should I be thinking, and what should I be doing? So yeah, so let's talk about those 3 scenarios. So 1, I'm in my 20s, I just finished, and starting to work, or I'm looking for a job, whatever it may be. What is my thinking supposed to be like? What are my actions? And somebody that is in the late 40s, family, nice life, it's okay, but I want to create wealth through property. And lastly, the 60-year-old. How can you then provide some insights so that they can be able to change their life for the better, so to speak?
Yeah, no, great questions. I think in all those 3 scenarios, one thing that's searching, which is part of the confusion and the illusion as well, is time, right? So that one person is young, so they might think that I actually have time to make mistakes, and I'll recover later. That's number 1. The 40s guy is caught up in what is it called? I mean, this anxiety that I haven't achieved anything.
Yeah.
And I want to be like my peers. I see them on LinkedIn and Facebook and all those things. So they are caught up in that, and obviously the family pressure that comes with being married and having kids and all those things.
Yes.
And then the 60s guy is also feeling the fact that I'm old, nothing would actually come out of me anymore, and probably doesn't have the capacity to generate income anymore.
Yeah.
So the first guy, what is important is to realize that you're never too early to actually create wealth. In fact, when you're just left university and you have not invested a cent, you are very late.
Yeah.
You're extremely late. Considering that in some cultures, like in the Jewish culture, they start investing on day 1 of the child being born, some before the child is actually born, and then taking advantage of the of the compound interest that would come with that.
Yeah.
So the person actually has an advantage of time over 40, 50 years, to actually say by the time the person is actually 40, they're already a millionaire out of passive income that they've never touched or they've never even worked for. And you then have the ability to even invest small amounts. I'm a great fan of automated savings, for instance. Saving 100 rands just monthly without even thinking about it, even as a student, you know what I mean? So that's what is critical at that particular time. And obviously we need to be wealth conscious, because you can never do this when you are not wealth conscious. If you are just someone who's looking for a job because you want to drive a Polo Vivo, and the guys who drive Polo Vivos and watching this will excuse me, but I like making it that example, because it's a certain behavioral pattern that comes with Polo Vivos and a house in affordable houses, orchards or Cosmos cities. There's that mentality, that comes with people that actually do these things. And what they end up with debt, and they end up in the same LSM levels, and the marketers are targeting them because they become homogeneous. They behave exactly the same as the world or the system actually expects. So it's important for people to be financially literate, and I'm glad that a lot of millennials and even younger guys are actually taking financial literacy, into consideration. Actually, the fact that we are having this conversation and some of the content goes viral on social media is actually a good sign. So that's what I would say about the young person, that you don't have time. If you're wealth conscious, you realize that time actually works for you. When you are in your middle life crisis, yes, that's the term that I was actually looking for. When you are in your middle life crisis, there's a lot of pressure that comes from. A lot of it is actually social pressure that I was actually saying, and it's very important to divorce yourself from the Chabalalas and the Khatebes and the Kumalos, and into your colleagues, because and this is not just about investment, it's about life in general. You can never succeed if your life is relative, or if your success is relative. It means you're looking at what the other person is actually has. So instead, if you're thinking of, I have a bond on this house, and this house probably takes like 40% of my income and doesn't leave me with a lot, right, to actually do it. Would it be advantageous for me to build rooms around this house? Take a refinance property and build rooms around this house. Am I concerned that the neighbors are going to say, he's desperate, now he's building rooms and all those things, and whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Or would it be better if we downgrade, take whatever equity that's there, and buy a smaller house, which can give us a leverage to have our house and buy another separate investment property on the side. You know what I mean? So those are the consent, or the things that the clutter probably in our minds. That, I mean, even cars. I mean, cars are actually one of the most draining cold assets. I mean, I know that we've had this debate, because I'm in accounting. I've done accounting at BCom, and we had this debate about with friends about a car being an asset. No, it takes me to work, then it helps me to make money. It doesn't. You can go to work with a taxi and still earn the same salary. It doesn't make any difference. It's convenience, and convenience has nothing to do. You know what I mean? So those are some of the realities that we actually have. No, my children, you can actually get smaller transport. That will be much cheaper than actually, financing a car that doesn't generate anything for you. So those are the reality checks that we actually need to make. Obviously, when you do have a family, you have a spouse to consult with, who's got their own fears, anxieties, and the type of issues as well, about neighbors and so forth and so forth. So going through that, which is a serious conversation that most Black families actually need to have, not Black only, but this problem actually exists in our cultures, because we never developed the culture of sitting down around the dinner table and talking about money, because it's still a taboo. Once you get to that stage, then you'll see that there's plenty of opportunities of reducing expenses, and then identifying some opportunities or killing some of the debts with whatever surplus money that you have, so that you can open a leverage of saving. So I say, use your emotions to your advantage, right? If your emotions are telling you that your friends and blah, 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 blah are going to do this, turn that script around and say, if I don't do this for the children that I love, they are going to be like me, feel the same way that I feel at this age, and probably be worse off because I didn't build a good foundation for them. You know what I mean? So it's an emotional connection. It's about people that you love, and love is an emotion. You know what I mean? So being able to do that, then you actually realize that, I'll rather sacrifice for my children rather than being scared about and the likes. I'm sorry that the video quality is actually decreasing. I'm trying to move away from the noise. So those are the things that you need to think about when you are in your middle life crisis. I think crisis, like we're talking about the pandemic, creates an opportunity again, to say, what are the things that we can actually do to change our situation. It almost forces you to think deeper and beyond shallow things, like comments from the neighbors and so forth,
Yeah.
And then the person who's in the older age, and I'll tell you that the lifespan of human beings has actually increased, I think, with an average of 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And when you are at that age, you are obviously, according to the financial planning life cycle, you are actually in the age of having to create wealth. But that's the script of the world.
Yeah.
At that stage, you should be retiring and so forth. And I'll tell you, I mean, is it this guy who started KFC, Colonel Sanders, that, he started making money and being a millionaire when he was already in his 60s because he felt that it was such a failure. He was living in his car. I think he was divorced already. And he felt like, what, there's really nothing for me. I really need to push harder to actually enjoy the last years of my life. You know what I mean? And I mean, he actually did that, and we're still eating KFC, and his bearded self is still there.
Still.
And the guy is still a millionaire even today. I mean, or has he passed away? I can't remember, but he passed away as a millionaire. So that's a legacy that you would have left for your children. And that's how they will remember you. And it's about how you finish. It's not only about how you started. How did you finish? Finish as a champion, and you still have that opportunity. If I talk about 10 years or probably 15 years if you are in your 60s, what can you do with that? That is a good opportunity as well to reflect and say, what, I can still do better with the talents that God has given me, with the opportunities that have been presented. If you have any kind of assets, it doesn't stop you from selling some of those assets and investing. I mean, what do you have to lose? You know what I mean?
The years have gone already.
At your 60s, that's something.
It doesn't matter.
No, I mean, and some people are actually downgrading at that particular age, downgrading to smaller houses and all those type of things. I mean, when I downgrade,
doesn't matter.
You could really be looking at leaving a legacy from your grandchildren, and they will remember you for the legacy. And then you probably would be going for a holiday for the first time if you invest well in this first 10 years that you decided to take some risk. So that's what I would say. That the 60-year-old me, that's what I would definitely.
No, man, wonderful. I think there is really more to say, but I think obviously because of time, I think that a lot of people would have really picked up, a lot of insight from what you have shared, from Egypt itself, talking about the pyramids. I think that is amazing, when you think about it in that aspect, the value that still lies there, even after centuries and centuries, of time, but there's still value, and that value is still realizing, monetary value of today, which is fantastic. Now, I think, but Andile, I from my side, I really, thank you so much for doing this. And of course, what you have shared, there's a lot of things that you are doing, and I'm sure people would want to, engage with you, your services. How do they get hold of you?
Yeah, no, so they can follow on Facebook. There's a page, the Property Revolution with Andile Fulane, that I run and share some tips there. They can go to our website, which is Fin for Finance, Finlite, FINLITE.co.za, and this is where they'll find some courses that we have around property investing and other courses around getting out of debt and so forth, because we've got an online platform where we provide these courses. Yeah, but I'm passionate about this, man, and I'm glad to have met you online and have hosted you on my podcast as well. My podcast is on Iono as well, and you can check out on my Facebook page. We put some podcasts there. And they can listen to the conversation that I've had with you on stock property investing as well. Yeah, so those are the platforms that you can actually engage with us.
Yeah. Okay. No. I think then. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andile, and thank you for doing this thing. And I wish you nothing but the best. With all your endeavors, with your life, your family. May you just prosper. May you keep on just empowering us and building us. And, you know, yeah, may God just continue to bless you abundantly. Thank you so much for being here and allowing us to tap into you, the power that lies inside your mind.
You know, when you talk about God, thank you so much for the blessing, man. May God do the same to you, because you are not afraid of this gospel, man. You know, prosperity is ours. When God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, He gave them land. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. I see. So good chilling.
Give them land to take care of it. That's our inheritance.
All right. No, thank you so much. And I also want to just say thank you to everybody that is watching. May they keep on following. You know, there'll be a lot of conversation as we try to unpack the ingredients that lie in wealth creation. What exactly is wealth creation? And now we're going to be moving to generational wealth. And yeah, and thank you so much to everybody for watching. Gavin Mkabela signing out. See you on the flip side.
Bye, Lord Buddhist.